24-year-old single father Jeff Kunz thought he was marrying an 18-year-old single mother when he said "I do" to Melissa. She was actually 16 and ill-prepared to be a wife, much less a mother.
I got pregnant at 14, had my first son Michael when I was 15, and made the decision that I wasn't going to adopt out. I was going to be a mom.
All that was missing to complete Melissa's fairy tale was a husband.
Now I need a daddy. I need a family. And here it is, a 15, 16-year-old girl with this mentality. So I met Jeff.
It was March 25th when I think we first went out. And then we were married by May 16th.
After the wedding, the reality of being a wife and mother made Melissa desperate for her teenage independence.
Instead of being responsible and being a wife and doing what I was supposed to do, I was out partying. I was sneaking out of the house. I was lying to him. I was stealing his money. I started sleeping around.
In an attempt to keep Melissa from leaving home for days at a time, Jeff encouraged her to get high and party at home.
She would still leave even after I let her start partying at home, and she'd be gone for a week, but I'd always find her.
I did everything under the sun but heroin, and crystal meth was my drug of choice.
This pattern continued for years. Jeff decided if he couldn't get Melissa to confront her addiction, he might as well join the party.
She was doing a lot of cocaine, and then it turned to crack, and then I was more doing speed.
Jeff had his own problems. He had battled anger issues all of his life. Mixed with drug use, it was a prescription for violence, and Melissa was often the recipient of his rage.
I guess I was pretty violent. I could go off and just, lose it.
We fought all the time. We fought all the time. It was toxic. It was a toxic relationship.
In a move that sent Jeff to his boiling point, Melissa had an affair with one of Jeff's close relatives.
I was so into that other relationship that I moved out. And this other person was a drug addict, so it worked out perfect.
I got arrested 3 times in 1 week for going after him. I wanted to kill her, and I really wanted to kill him.
After a couple of weeks, tempers cooled, and Melissa returned to her dysfunctional life with Jeff.
I've been with Jeff most of my life, and I loved him. In a sick, twisted way, but I loved him.
In no time, the fighting and drug abuse resumed, but the hard living was finally taking a physical toll on Jeff.
We've been partying very heavy for probably 3 or 4 months. We were doing crystal meth at that time. My body just finally couldn't take it anymore.
He almost OD'd and ended up in the hospital and told me, Melissa, go home and flush everything.
When I was in the hospital, I cried out. I said, God, Jesus, I said, you just get me through this and you keep me alive. I said, I'll never do it again. I said, that's it. And I didn't do it again.
Jeff says he was instantly delivered from drug addiction. His anger issues seemed to vanish too.
God had taken the anger out of my husband, totally miraculously.
Jeff rededicated his childhood commitment to Christ and even felt called to the ministry. Melissa, however, was having a greater struggle. She was no longer unfaithful to Jeff, but she couldn't kick her addiction to drugs.
So finally I just started looking through the house and found, paraphernalia and stuff that she had hidden. So then I knew she was doing it, and that ended up in a huge fight.
And I left the house, and I went on a 2-week drug binge.
Soon, Melissa was out of money and needed a fix.
I came home, and Jeff wasn't there, and so I was calling him, demanding him to come home and let me in my house, and I wanted money, and I proceeded to try and kick in my door. And he called the police on me, which he'd never done.
She wasn't arrested for drugs. They actually just arrested her for disorderly conduct.
And I was so mad at him, and he looked out and he goes, Melissa, I have a call to be a pastor. You have a call. Get clean or get out.
While Melissa sat in jail, she lamented the mess her life had become. In her desperation, she recalled the Christian faith she had been raised with and cried out to God.
I said, you've got to take this from me. I can't do this alone. And I remembered the scripture, cast all your cares upon him. He carries your yokes and your burdens. And I held God to his word. And I said, you get me clean, because I cannot do this. And I went to sleep, and I woke up, and it was gone.
After 10 years of living in a drug-induced haze, Melissa says she experienced a miracle that night. She's been clean ever since. Their 3 oldest boys are now adults, and today Jeff and Melissa live in Los Angeles with their 8-year-old son, Alex. The couple help other addicts living on the streets of L.A.
There's hope. Even if you're high right now, you know, and there's still hope, and there's still God. He's still out there.
God never gives up, no matter what, no matter where you are. Psalms 139 is my favorite. It talks about you can go to the ends of the earth, to the depths of the sea. Wherever we are, God finds us.